What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here of the Bottom Line View. I'm trying out this new software here on YouTube. I've never used it before. It's live software directly on basically the home page. Let me know if there's any difference between this software and Google Hangouts, whether you like it more, you like it less, whatever the case may be. Let me know whether you like this software better than Google Hangouts. I think you can only do this with one person in the chat, though. So if we ever have, multiple people at the same time again, then that might be an issue. But I just wanted to try this out because I was alone. I was by myself, and I figured why not give it a try. So it's just me here, but I'm going to be answering your NFL questions. I'm going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers acquiring Jason Pierre-Paul in a trade to bolster their pass rush. Huge trade in the NFL earlier today. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the live chat what's going on. John says, you're looking good either way, Mitch. Thank you, John. And yeah, I can only have one person on YouTube Live. It's a different YouTube Live, though. It's like the quick option, John. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's not like the one where you go to the sidebar and you fill out all the information. You just click a button on the top beside the upload button, and then you get to go to it directly. It's actually very simple, very easy. I don't think you can actually import tags till after the fact, but I think you can do description and stuff, which I was able to do. So it's interesting, but I'll try and enjoy it nonetheless. So let me know what you guys thought of this trade and also any other questions in the NFL right now that you have. All right. So Jason Pierre-Paul traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What does this do for the Buccaneers? What does this do for the Giants? What is the trade? So basically, as far as I understand it, Jason Pierre-Paul, just so I don't get it incorrect, let me look it up once again. So Jason Pierre-Paul was traded from the Giants to the Buccaneers for picks in the 3rd and 4th round. So the Giants have traded defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul and a 2018 4th round Buccaneers for a 3rd and a 4th round pick in 2018. That was announced this morning. So the Giants are getting pretty good compensation, all things considered. Because we've seen Robert Quinn, a player very close to Jason Pierre-Paul. I think he only really got a 5th round pick. These other players that are considered pass rushers, Michael Bennett, yes, a little bit older, but a player that is good nonetheless. He also went for less than Jason Pierre-Paul. So I feel like overall, this was really good compensation for the Giants, considering they really didn't get, it was positive for them because they traded a guy that they could get rid of a lot of cap space in order to get some draft picks. The Giants are a team that's sort of rebuilding, even though they've yet to determine what they're doing at the quarterback position, whether they're continuing to play with Eli Manning, whether he's going to be their starting quarterback for the foreseeable future or not. That still needs to be answered in the Giants organization. But that being said, getting a 3rd and 4th round pick, pretty much only a 3rd round pick. I mean, you got a 3rd round pick plus you move up in the draft. So you get a 3rd round pick plus you move up in the draft a little bit in the 4th round. So it was a little bit more than a 3rd round pick. So let's say you get a high 3rd round pick. Let's actually compensate it. Let's say it was basically a 2nd round pick. Because if you think about it, you get a 3rd rounder plus you move up in the 4th. So it was basically a 2nd round pick, even though it's not. Let's just say it is. So basically the compensation is a 2nd round pick for Jason Pierre-Paul. Jason Pierre-Paul is not a player that is an elite player in this league. He's a good player. He's a solid pass rusher. He's a above average pass rusher, but he's not a guy that's going to take over football games anymore. He's not a guy that's going to be defensive player of the year caliber. He's not a guy that's going to lead the league in the NFL in sacks. He's a good player, but he's not great. All right. And you gave up basically a 2nd round pick for him. That's a good trade if you're a Giants fan. Now, if you are a Buccaneers fan, I think you're positive about it because you're thinking, hey, we're the Bucs. we thought last year we maybe had a chance to go to the playoffs, and that kind of fell through. A large portion of that was because our defense didn't live up to the hype. Our defense wasn't good enough. We needed to improve our pass rush. So we bring in Jason Pierre-Paul, one-handed Jason Pierre-Paul. He fits in well because he is a Pirate. He puts that, he's got the captain hook on. He's a Pirate. He's got the one hand. And I think overall, it's a good trade for both because the Bucs, they get their pass rusher they desperately needed. They pair a guy up with Jarrell McCoy. They let go of Robert Ayers, who is another former New York Giant. They have the linebackers. Their secondary still needs some help, and maybe they'll address that in the first round. But the Bucs are looking like a team that are willing to make some moves now with signing Curry on the defensive line and trading for Jason Pierre-Paul. They have seemingly addressed their biggest need in the offseason by getting pass rushers in there. So if you're a Bucs fan, I think you're happy about it. But if you're a Giants fan, you're also happy about it because you got good compensation and you're a team that needs to get younger. You're a team that needs to rebuild. So I think it was good from both points of view. If I had to say who won the trade, I would say the Giants, because I think they got really good compensation for a guy that, let's just say, is on the downslope of his career, and they found somewhere where they could deliver their contract and kind of drop that contract off. That was sort of a bad contract to begin with. So I would say the Giants did slightly win this trade. They got good compensation for it. They got rid of that contract that was in their way. But I think the Bucs did also, on the other hand, get a player that can help them right away and can help their biggest weakness. So that's my thoughts on that move. Let me know what you guys thought about Jason Pierre-Paul going to the Buccaneers. And what do you guys think of the Buccaneers now that they have Jason Pierre-Paul, that they signed Vinny Curry? What do you think they'll do in the draft? Also, what do you think this move means for the Giants? Personally, I think this move means that the Giants are a team that is this is another move that tells me that they're looking a little bit more towards the future. That also makes me ponder and wonder whether or not they're going to pick a quarterback with their first pick. Are they going to stay with Eli Manning for the next year or so? Or are they going to draft that future star quarterback? What is going to be their decision? I think this trade really puts that move in the spotlight. Who are they going to pick? What position are they going to address in the draft? And then also, basically, this means in the third round, they have another pick to work with, and they'll probably address, maybe this means that, hey, they're going to wait a while for a quarterback, and maybe they'll use that third rounder for a quarterback. I don't really know. Maybe they'll try and replace Jason Pierre-Paul with that third round pick. Not really sure. Maybe they'll address offensive line, but the Giants, they have a lot of needs. They're a team that needs to get younger, and they could use the picks. Guys, hit that like button if you haven't already, to let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're appreciating the live content. All right, let's get to the chat. So Rick Badboy says, think they got rid of JPP at the right time. I would agree. I think when they re-signed Jason Pierre-Paul, 2 years ago, he was pretty good, but overall, I would have probably gotten rid of him 2 years ago. When they signed Olivier Vernon, they didn't really need to come in and sign Jason Pierre-Paul too. I understand that you want to make your defensive line dominant like your Super Bowl teams, but at the same time, Jason Pierre-Paul at that stage in his career was a guy that was kind of skeptical because he only had one hand. You didn't really know how he was going to deal with that. And then, he got overpaid by the Giants, which now caused them to end up trading him because he was a bad contract on their team, because he was under-delivering from the standpoint of the contract. So overall, they basically admit, because there's a new general manager in there, they admitted their mistake of the last ownership, the last general manager that was there. They admitted that mistake. They moved on from Jason Pierre-Paul, and now they got a draft pick to move towards the future. So I feel like it wasn't really the right time, even though you could say it was the right time now, the sooner the better. They should have probably just not signed him a couple of years ago. That probably would have been my thought. Sean Jordan says, what's up, Mitch? How do you feel about the Patriots doing in free agency? Today, they addressed a couple of big re-signings. I was very happy to see. I think it was yesterday, they re-signed Matt Slater. Really nice to see. Matt Slater, if you guys know, besides Tom Brady, Matt Slater's arguably been the biggest leader of the New England Patriots. the special teams ace. In my opinion, the best special teams player of all time. Yeah, I said it. Matthew Slater, the GOAT. One of the biggest leaders on the Patriots for the past 10 years. He's been a consistent force on the team, a consistent contributor on that special teams unit, probably the one player in the NFL that even though he's a special teamer, everybody knows who he is Matthew Slater, because everybody votes him to the Pro Bowl every year. But glad to see that Slater's back. And then you have today with the signings of the Patriots, they re-signed Marquise Flowers. Really like that re-signing. I really like what Marquise Flowers brought to the team, especially after they released Shea McClellan yesterday or the day before, which Shea McClellan, class act. Great guy. I wish him the best. If he continues to play football, I hope he goes somewhere that he's going to, have success, and hopefully he has the same amount of success that he did with New England that one season he played. Last year he was hurt, a lot of injury questions, a lot of questions about the concussions, so they had to move on from him. But overall, getting Marquise Flowers to basically not replace Shea McClellan because they're different players, but to come in and play the similar role that he did last year, kind of like a hybrid player. He sort of played a lot of coverage linebacker. He was really utilized on defense in order to be that spy against mobile quarterbacks. That player is very important. And I thought that overall he played a good job on defense, considering he still has potential because he really didn't play a lot on defense previously with the Bengals and other teams that he's been with before New England. And last year he was really called upon to play a bigger role than he usually has. And I thought he filled in admirably there. Plus he is a very good special teams asset. I thought the Patriots, they've been taking care of their special teams guys. They got Cordell Patterson. They got Matthew Slater. They got Marquise Flowers. They re-signed Nate Ebner. So they've been doing their job on that front, re-signing those guys on special teams. And then also LeAdrian Waddle, huge re-signing. This can't be understated. He could be the left tackle this season. If they don't draft a guy in the first round, even if they draft a guy in the second round, you could still consider LeAdrian Waddle to be the favorite to start at left tackle. For me, LeAdrian Waddle, when consistently playing between him and Cameron Fleming, I feel like Waddle has been the better guy in starting positions more often. But I really like the re-signing. It's pretty inexpensive, and he's a guy that can step in there. And when he's healthy, that's been a big question about him. He hasn't been able to stay as healthy as you would like. But when he's been in spot duty for whoever's been injured, whether that's Solder or Vollmer in the past or Marcus Cannon, he's played very well. And I think him playing in there is going to be is not going to be as big of a downgrade as I think a lot of people will expect. I actually really like LeAdrian Waddle and have since they've signed him on the team. I still think he has a lot of potential. He's still, I think, 26 or 27. And that's just entering your prime. So if Scarnecchia can get him in there as a starter, maybe teach him a couple different things, he can get confidence with kind of just chemistry along the offensive line, because that's a very big thing. I think he could be a capable starter in the league, and I don't think you'll really miss Solder too much. Obviously, you're going to miss Solder to a certain degree. He's the highest paid left tackle in the league. I wouldn't say he's the best. He's the highest paid, but LeAdrian Waddle will fill in there, and he'll be fine. But I've liked the moves that they've made, the re-signings recently, but also I've discussed kind of in depth like the other moves, the signings and stuff. But I like the re-signings. Alpha Berry says, hello, what's going on, Alpha Berry? John said, gonna have to check that out. Hey, peeps, sub to the Bottom Line View if you haven't yet. I agree with John. Subscribe to the Bottom Line View. I was adjusting my light. It's kind of too bright. But yeah, subscribe to the Bottom Line View if you haven't. We've been doing a ton of free agency stuff. If you haven't, cheap plug time, go check out Dilly Vanilli's video. He did the 5 biggest winners in NFL free agency so far. Very well done video. I was impressed with Dylan in that video. I'm not impressed with Dylan a lot. He's Dylan, but very good video. So I highly recommend that video. Go check it out. Rusty says, Frank Gore to the Dolphins. Dude's like 99 years old. Did that actually happen? I've been in class, so I haven't been able to check. Okay. Tyrell Pryor is going to the Jets. I don't know if anyone said that in there yet. Did that actually happen? Packers are hosting Jordan Matthews. Eagles signed Mike Wallace. Do you guys want me to talk about those things? If you want me to talk about any of those, just say the name of the player and then I'll know. Okay, yeah, I see. Frank Gore headed to Miami. This was at 3:47 Eastern time. 1-year deal. Well, overall, I don't think that's bad, though. If it's a 1-year deal, like I say, I don't mind 1-year deals. I actually like 1-year deals because 1-year deals, it's 1 year and you're done. 1 year. And if you screw that deal up, it doesn't matter. 1 year and you can cut him because it doesn't matter. So for Frank Gore, I think he's just looking maybe 1 more year in his career. He can rack up some more statistics. He's in a nice place in Miami, back home where he played college football. Remember that? I got that in my head. And then you can basically retire in Miami, whatever, right? So he's basically shifting from his playing time to his retirement by playing in Miami with the Dolphins. I think it's a good move for Frank Gore. I'm a huge fan of Frank Gore. Been one of the best running backs in the league for basically like since I've been watching football. Like when did he come in the NFL? Like maybe a couple years before I started watching, but like besides that, this guy's been in the league forever. So I don't remember the last time I watched football without Frank Gore being a good part of it. So Frank Gore is going to be, I think, a solid contributor to Miami. He won't be the starting running back. He'll contribute. I understand he's 99 years old or whatever, but I think he can just come in and be a part of that rotation. And he gives a guy with the young running backs in Miami, they're probably going to draft one as well. He could be that veteran leadership. He can come in and be a guy that you can rely on, and game in and game out, you can give him 10 touches and he's going to do something with it. I know he's not great at this point, but he can do a little bit of everything, and he can rotate in there and spell some of your other running backs. So I like the move, but I really like the move because of Frank Gore. Frank Gore is the man. Benjamin says, good trade for the Bucs. Sean Jordan says, how do you feel about my Jags? I think I actually said to Dylan, I don't know if you've checked out Dylan's top 5 already for the free agency winners, but I said to Dylan that, Dylan, you need to have the Jacksonville Jaguars in your top 5 because the Jacksonville Jaguars made a lot of good moves this offseason. I am somewhat interested to see that they moved on from Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. Obviously, they brought in Dante Moncrief, and I don't really think they need the receivers too much because that's not their primary focus on offense. But I really like the Andrew Norwell move. Of course, I think it makes a strength even better. I really like the moves they made at tight end. I think one of them was, I actually have to look, but like I really like the guys they brought in at tight end, and I really like the Norwell move. So those were the main ones that I really liked. But I just remember today I was like, Dylan, you need to put the Jaguars there. Let me actually look at everybody because I've looked at so many teams that like. That I forget. Can't find it. Anyways, yeah. I think the Jaguars have done a good job, and I think the Jaguars are one of those teams where they were at a level where they were in AFC contender situation, and I was really intrigued to see what they would do this offseason. Now, I think their biggest flaw is that they re-signed Blake Bortles and didn't go after a different quarterback. I think that's their biggest flaw. But overall, looking at what they did, I think is solid, and I think they kept themselves from falling out of contention. Like sometimes teams get to contention, like last year the Cowboys and the Raiders got to a place where they were considered future contenders for the Super Bowl. I feel like the Jaguars got there last year, but from what they did in this offseason, they improved their team. So it's harder for them to drop off. While the Cowboys and the Raiders didn't improve, they really got worse from last year. And they didn't make those moves in order to put themselves over the top. And the thing I really like about Jacksonville from this free agency is that they addressed some needs on their team, like tight end. but they also addressed the positions where they're already strong. And I think they also replaced Colvin at corner with someone decent. I think it was DJ Hayden. I'm not sure exactly, but I thought that's a pretty good move. It could have not been DJ Hayden, but it was another slot corner that I like. Could have been DJ Hayden. I don't remember. But anyways, Jaguars, good free agency so far. Raiders. How the hell are the Raiders Super Bowl odds up from 33-1 to 22-1? You are really not a fan of these signings. Honestly, I think the Raiders did a decent job in free agency. After looking at it, I think they've done a decent job. They've signed some defensive players that they desperately needed. You know, they got a Whitehead. They got a Melvin. I feel like they addressed some positions that they needed. They replaced Jordy Nelson with Michael Crabtree. They got Doug Martin, so that's improving the running back position. Overall, I feel like they didn't really lose a heck of a lot. So can you really, Raiders 81, 89, can you let me know, bro, where do you see the Raiders declining? I think the Raiders will at least get a little bit better from last year. Considering I feel like they brought a little bit more talent to their team, and I really don't feel like a lot of their moves were terrible. I thought at the beginning of free agency it was a little bit concerning, but then they started to come in and started to make a couple of good signings, and then it sort of is shaping up. And I feel like the Raiders finally this year are starting to address some of those units that they haven't been addressing for years. So we'll see how their draft goes, but I think the Raiders have done an overall good job. Like, I would say it was better than average this offseason. Actually, I think the Raiders do deserve to be up in the Super Bowl odds, in my opinion. Even though if they moved up after the Patterson trade from before, that makes no sense. But from free agency, I think overall they improved. Rob says, I'm a little preoccupied with baseball to have any good football questions tonight. That's okay, Rob. How you doing, bro? He says, fact or fiction, Derek Carr is traded next season. I doubt it. Rick Badboy says, who's your top guys that are still unsigned? Let me look up the NFL free agent tracker, and then I can let you know. Well, Ndamukong Suh is number one. I think that is a certainty. After that, there are a lot of good safeties on the block. There's Trey Boston, who is my top safety on the board. I believe he is still on the board. You have Eric Reed, who's basically being black as of him kneeling. He's a very good player. He's versatile. You know, he can play safety, he could play corner, he could play linebacker. He does a lot of different things. I feel like he would fit in a lot of different systems and improve a lot of teams. I'm not saying he's a great safety, but he's a starting caliber safety. You have Kenny Vaccaro, who I feel, he's been a little bit of a disappointment since being drafted high in that first round with the Saints. But overall, he's a guy that can play slot corner, had pretty good success there last year, and he can also play safety. And given the right scheme, I feel like he reminds me a little bit of Patrick Chung early in his career, where he showed flashes, but he was just in the wrong spot. Once the Patriots re-signed him, they put him in a different spot. Patrick Chung's been one of the best, most consistent safeties in the league. I feel like Kenny Vaccaro has that skill set to do the same with a different team in a different location. So Kenny Vaccaro, Eric Reed, Trey Boston, those three safeties I would expect to be signed soon. Maybe Eric Reed will be a little bit longer because of his off the field stuff, but Suh is number one. I would look at those three guys. Bashaud Breeland is a guy that sort of got screwed over. He's been injured. He didn't pass his physical. So whether that's his fault or not, maybe he was injured when he signed, but he got basically declined from the Panthers. Maybe the Panthers, once they pass his physical, will re-sign him. I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like it. But overall, he is the best corner on the board. Pretty good corner, starting caliber. Terrell Pryor just got signed, I believe, so he's off the board. I think he got signed by the Jets. So overall, I think that's a good signing as long as it was only a 1 or 2 year deal. Jonathan Hankins is probably the best defensive lineman on the board. I also feel like EJ Gaines is a very good corner that I think is underrated. He was traded in that Sammy Watkins deal. I feel like he would be really good. Like, if the Panthers are looking to sign someone outside of Bashaud Breeland, I feel like EJ Gaines would be a very good fit. I think he's very good in zone. Wouldn't be surprised if he went back to the Bills, but I think he is a good player. and definitely, again, another starting caliber guy. Jordan Matthews is still there for a slot receiver. Navarro Bowman is a veteran linebacker. Tavon Branch is pretty underrated. You still have Martellus Bennett at tight end, whether he decides to play or not. The top tackle on the board is Cameron Fleming. DRC still has, I think he still has a gear in him left to play in the NFL at a pretty high level. It's funny, there's Colin Kaepernick on this list. Yeah, no way. There's also guys like Jarrell Freeman, Coney Ely, I thought had a decent year with the Jets. Pernell McPhee's been visiting a couple of teams. Derek Johnson is still out there. And your boy Jay Cuddy. So those are the players that are the top on the board, but that's my thoughts on them. Rick Badboy says, so many comments. I lost my spot. Rick Badboy says, fiction. He gets 2 years with Gruden. He also says, one thing about these signings, guys still have to play. That's, of course, yeah. So, these signings aren't for sure. They still have to play. They could not work out. We'll see, but you're hoping they do. Ali D says, I'm a Bucs fan and I'm okay with the trade. If it doesn't work, we can cut him next year without any dead money. All right, so that makes sense. I mean, overall, I don't know the exact contract situation. You're a Bucs fan, so you probably know it better than me. But if that is the case, the trade is fine. But I also feel like giving up a third-round pick and then cutting a player next year, if that's what's going to happen, that's still a loss. You know what I mean? So overall, Ali D, I feel like it's a win for both, like I said at the top. But I think overall the Giants benefit a little bit more because they get rid of that contract that they didn't really want. They're in a situation where they don't really want a player like Jason Pierre-Paul, where he's sort of at the end of his prime and they're getting younger. So it made a lot of sense for the Giants. It also made a lot of sense for the Bucs because the Bucs are a team that are here. They have a lot of potential. And they sort of staggered a little bit. But with a couple of moves, like the Jason Pierre-Paul move, maybe the Vinny Curry move, they could get from here to here. And because of that trade, they could get to basically a new playing field. Plus, they're trying to keep up with the rest of their division, which is very tough. So I feel like it's a win for both. But at the same time, I feel like the Giants did still slightly win that trade. Cruisin said, I didn't think there was a team dumb enough to trade for JPP. Well, that's harsh. Tropical Mayhem says, what's up? What's going on, bro? Rusty says, do you consider Devontae Parker a bust? I would say not yet. Benjamin says, do you think the Jags are a Super Bowl team? I think they are a contender. Rick Badboy says, Benjamin don't like what they're doing at wide receiver. That's Jags. Like I said, they don't really pass the ball, so it doesn't matter. Tropical says Jets are finalizing a deal to sign Terrell Pryor. What else? AFC East and West quarterbacks from best to worst. Go. AFC East. Oh, I don't even remember who all their quarterbacks are. But anyways, I would go Tom Brady. They don't have – the Bills have A.J. McCarron, I guess, right? So, I would go Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Teddy Bridgewater / Josh McCown, A.J. McCarron. That would be my order in the AFC East. AFC West. Ooh, this is tough because Patrick Mahomes is a wild card. But I would go Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr. At the moment, I have to go Case Keenum and then Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes could easily be first on the list at the end of this next year. But he could also be last. So it depends. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be good, better than Case Keenum. But I can't put him there yet. So I'll say Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, close. Then you have Case Keenum, Patrick Mahomes. So those are the two lists. You overpaid for Solder. I agree. Raider says I'm wrong. Brandon says, let's go JPP. He says, hey, Bottom Line View, what's your thoughts on my boy, Jameis Winston? Jameis Winston, I've always been a fan of him. I really like kind of his intangibles. I think he has a love for the game. I like his passion. I think sometimes that gets in the way of his playing a little bit, though. I think he's overdoes it. He's over dramatic a little bit, but I like him. And that kind of spills onto the field where he throws a little bit of risky interceptions, but he has good arm talent. I think he's a good quarterback. He does need to work a little bit on his kind of just, I feel like it will come with time, but like his awareness, he does sometimes miss reads. He does sometimes miss throws. But I think overall, he's a good quarterback. I think he can be an elite quarterback in the league. He has shown bits and pieces of that. I think he's been last year. I would kind of write off because he was a little bit too injured, but I think he can be a stud. So I would say I like him. I like what he brings, but I also think that there is a lot of volatility to his game. Like he could rather be really good or he could rather be really bad on a given day. So he's sort of in between right now. We'll see what happens. I think this next year is really big for him. If he delivers, he could end up being, a stud. If he doesn't, I think you're looking more at the side of a bust. But this is a huge year for Jameis Winston. Where do you think Allen Hurns will end up? I know Dilly Vanilli wants him in Dallas. Dallas needs a receiver. But overall, do I have to go through my teams thing where I have to look through every team and see where he's going to end up? All right. Cowboys, I think, could grab him. I think it would be interesting to see if the Packers made a play for him. I think the 49ers may be interested. Seahawks could be interested. Who else? Washington possibly. Don't know if they're still looking for a receiver. Jets probably off the market. Maybe. I don't think the Saints, but possibly. I don't know. Not the Panthers, I don't think. Not the Rams. Actually, the Rams do sort of need a receiver, but I don't think they would sign an Allen Hurns. I don't think the Lions. Maybe the Colts. Yeah, I would go with those teams. It would also be interesting to see if the Titans would make a play for him, but those would be the teams that would come to mind. Tony says, hey, bro, anybody ever tell you that you look like Commodus from the movie Gladiator? What? Bro, where does that come from? Let me look this guy up. How do I look like this guy? Really? Seriously? Does anyone else get that? Google this guy and let me know. I don't really see it, bro. Never heard it, though. Rick Badboy says Dolphins definitely going to be drafting in the top 10. I'm sure Kevin Durkant will love that. People are rating DJ Hayden based off their Madden franchise mode. Eli Manning is arguably not even a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. Never mind top 10. Ali D says, if Nelson, Fitzpatrick, James, and Ward are still on the board at 7, who do you think the Bucs should pick? I think it's between Fitzpatrick and Ward for me. They need a safety and they need a corner. I think the more game-changing, I think the better player is probably Fitzpatrick. The better position is corner. So it's a tough decision. I would say Fitzpatrick or Ward, just to narrow it down there. But it's between those two, I would think. I think those are their two biggest needs, and I think those would be the two, not necessarily the best players out of those guys, but I think those two guys would be probably the best fits. I thought I was at the end of the comments, and then I scrolled down a little bit more, and I was not at the end of the comments. Chauncey says, Brother Nero, are you happy the XFL is coming back in 2020? I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really know. Let's see how it works out. I think it will be hilarious nonetheless, whether it works out or not. I think Vince is actually being smart about the XFL. If he can execute this one thing, he would be very smart. Okay? This is the one thing Vince needs to execute. The one thing Vince needs to execute is getting college players to not play college but play in the XFL. That is what he needs to do. If he can do that, he'll have a successful franchise. If he cannot do that, then it's going to fail. Fact or fiction? I'm a Pats hater. Fact. Cruisin', Sam Bradford. Apparently, Tannehill is better than Brady, according to Kevin Durkant. I'll put it this way about Jameis Winston. If he was on the Jaguars, he would win the Super Bowl. Say that. Deion Jordan was a pretty bad pick. Ted Ginn was also a really bad pick as well. Who else? Those were the ones that really stick out in my mind. Those were really bad picks. The top. Even though Ted Ginn became a good NFL player, it wasn't for the Dolphins. So that was a terrible pick. But Deion Jordan was really bad too. Where was Deion Jordan picked? Was he like 4th or something, or 5th? Or was he picked like later on? I feel like he was picked like really early, which that makes it bad too. Ted Ginn was not productive for the Dolphins. What do you do for the Dolphins? Ronnie Brown was nice, except when he was running Wildcat against my team. Yeah, Tannehill's wife is pretty hot. Okay, he was picked 2nd. That's bad. Yeah, that's got to be the worst then. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I've almost been on here for 40 minutes. I actually like that this thing shows me how much time I've been on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video overall. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Really, support the channel. Hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit the notification bell to let you know when we go live like this. When our latest videos are up, hit that notification bell. Really keeps you up to date with YouTube, because YouTube is really, really bad at giving videos of people that people are subscribed to. Unless you hit that notification bell, you're rarely going to get emails. You're rarely going to check your subscription box. You're going to have to go to the channel itself. So hit that notification bell. It's absolutely crucial that you guys hit that notification bell. Hit the like button. And subscribe if you haven't. If you're new to this live chat and you like what I had to say today, hit that subscribe button. Also, tell your friends about the channel. And hopefully, the Hot Take Hockey can be back at it with John and some of the boys over there at Hot Take Hockey. If you haven't subscribed to that channel, go over there and subscribe to Hot Take Hockey. The link's also in the description. Follow us on Twitter if we haven't. I haven't plugged Twitter in a while, but follow us on Twitter. That's where you can get immediate, interactions. You can comment to me and tweet me and ask me questions if you want. You can follow me and see what I'm up to. It's a personal page, but also I post a ton about YouTube. It's the primary place where I post about this stuff. And I'll let you know in advance when I'm going to go live. That's the biggest thing. And yeah, you'll get all the updates there. So thanks guys for tuning in. From Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Peace out, guys.